Last Sunday, on my 33rd birthday, mind you, the whole of the United States and millions of other people around the world tuned in to the NFL Super Bowl. I personally was in bed by 8 p.m., but I'm assuming that around that time, something related to sports and football happened. Who cares, am I right? The exciting part was the halftime show, starring Kendrick Lamar. Lamar's performance has half the internet upset and the other half hyped, even a full week later. We learned in advance that Donald Trump would be in attendance for the Super Bowl game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. With that in mind, Kendrick had quite the opportunity to make some sort of statement with his show. Before we talk about it, though, a couple of notes. I have watched many breakdowns and critiques of Kendrick's performance and the symbolism behind it, but as a white woman, there's only so much nuance and understanding I can personally relate to. All I can do here is give a voice to the powerful messaging I do recognize and give Kendrick and his team credit for bringing visibility to important issues that are currently and for a long time have been plaguing the United States. Also, Kendrick Lamar is not just some celebrity. This artist won the 2018 Pulitzer Prize for Music for his 2017 album titled Damn. He has been giving voice to the complexity and challenges of life as a Black American, and even if a lot of his other work isn't bluntly political per se, we really should not be surprised that he used his platform at the Super Bowl to creatively both reflect and challenge the times we are living in. Now let's talk about the performance. At the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, the lights dim as the halftime show starts. From the darkness, we can see the stage light up in the form of what appears to be a mapping of the PlayStation video game controller, which, yes, I had to look up. I would not have recognized that on my own. A spotlight shines upon Samuel L. Jackson dressed as Uncle Sam. His opening line, "Salutations, it's your Uncle Sam, and this is the great American game." The United States is a game of capitalism, a game of politics, and for Black Americans, a game of racial inequality in which they have to work harder than their white counterparts for any chance at winning. The idea that we're all living in a game rigged specifically against marginalized voices like Black Americans is a central theme to Kendrick's entire halftime show. Now, let's talk about Samuel L. Jackson's presence here. Samuel L. Jackson is no newbie to dealing with racial injustice, obviously. He was actually raised in the segregated South. Yeah, it was not that long ago, folks, that students like Samuel L. Jackson went to segregated schools. Jackson was also one of the ushers at Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral. Suffice it to say, having Samuel L. Jackson play the role of Uncle Sam and coaching Kendrick in the performance to play the game, the system, according to the rules rigged against Black people, is a powerful creative decision, to say the least. Next, the camera zooms in on Kendrick standing on the hood of a car in the most fabulous pair of jeans this country has seen in years, by the way. He's standing on a 1987 black Buick GNX. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about cars, but I do know that Kendrick was also born in 1987, and GNX was the title of his most recent album. He's crouching down and with medium volume starts some lyrics to open the show. As he's doing this, dozens of dancers start piling out of the front seat and the trunk of the Buick, dressed fully in either red, white, or blue. Then he cuts the lyrics, stands up, and says, "The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy." Gee, I wonder who that's about. "The revolution is about to be televised" refers to a 1971 poem by Gil Scott-Heron called "Revolution Will Not Be Televised." It's a spoken word piece. You can find it on YouTube. I'll link it in the episode show notes. In it, Scott-Heron tells the audience that the revolution will not happen while we're comfortably seated on the couch with commercial breaks. The poem also makes a lot of references to brand names and celebrities of the times as a way of taking a stab at consumerism culture. In essence, the revolution will not be confined to the capitalistic regime that keeps us all complacent and comfortable. The revolution will not be sexy. It will not be easy. And it will not be conventional. It also suggests that the revolution won't even be an external process, that the revolution really starts in our mind when we decide to take back the power from the systems that want to keep the working class and specifically marginalized communities disempowered. So when Kendrick Lamar says the revolution is about to be televised, he's taking a stance and saying that right there at the most broadcasted performance at the Super Bowl halftime show, the revolution is no longer going to be a silent struggle for everyday people. This is maybe the most powerful statement he says in the show. As Kendrick continues, the songs and lyrics he's performing first are some of his hard-hitting works. That's when Samuel L. Jackson, Uncle Sam, interrupts him saying, "No, no, no, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up. Immediately, Kendrick and his crew do in fact tighten up. They're nodding their heads in supposed obedience as Kendrick switches to more palatable songs like the wider crowd favorite, Humble. And this makes me wonder about Kendrick Lamar's own journey to his superstardom. He was raised in Compton, surrounded by circumstances that did not lend a helping hand, so I have to wonder what it cost him to reach his current level of success. How did he and other successful Black artists have to navigate the game, quote-unquote, the game, that is essentially white supremacy in the United States? Out of my own ignorance, I have to wonder if that's part of what Jackson was alluding to when he asked that question. Do you really know how to play the game? Do you really know how to keep white people mollified and feeling unthreatened as you climb your way to the top? Perhaps that's not for me to wonder about or answer. Eventually, he's performing another softer song alongside SZA. And performing with one of the rapper Drake's exes is one of the several jabs at him stemming from some beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. But I'm admittedly not as interested in celebrity drama as I am in the other meanings behind the performance. Though I will say I've heard about the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake for a while now, and Kendrick Lamar back-to-back winning 5 Grammys and performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, I mean, you gotta give it to him. There's a clear winner. After finishing the song All the Stars with SZA, Uncle Sam interrupts again saying, "That's what I'm talking about. That's what America wants. Nice, calm, you're almost there. Don't mess this." But then Kendrick interrupts Uncle Sam finally. And I swear I've had this next part on repeat in my head for the past week. He has 4 background dancers who keep asking him, "You really about to do it?" And he responds 3 times. "It's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get it on the floor. You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. Dun, 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 dun. You really about to do it? They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence." So the cultural divide is pretty self-explanatory to anyone who's fairly educated. White Americans and Black Americans live in completely different versions of the United States, and also the ultra-rich and the working class live completely different versions of this country. 40 acres and a mule, what's that about? Well, this is the exact promise made to the freed slaves under the administration of President Lincoln, issued by Union General William Tecumseh Sherman in 1865 after the Civil War. When Andrew Johnson assumed the presidency after Lincoln's assassination, though, this promise, unsurprisingly, was not followed through on. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence, another jab at the American system's likening to a game that we're all players in, whether we like it or not. Finally, Kendrick starts his recently popular song, Not Like Us. This song is in fact a direct critique of the celebrity Drake, from my understanding, and we do see another one of his exes take the stage. That would be Serena Williams, famed and accomplished tennis player performing the Sea Walk or the Crip Walk. At the 2012 Olympics, Williams performed this dance after winning a gold medal and was, of course, criticized for doing so. So whether or not it hurt Drake's feelings to see her there, I did love to see this moment for her. The Sea Walk is commonly associated with the Crips, the gang out of California, but I actually found that the origin of the dance belongs to Henry Crip Hurd, short for cripple, who was a one-armed, one-legged dancer in Harlem. Later, the dance was adopted by the Crips. The last song Kendrick performs is TV Off alongside special guest Mustard, who I believe is a DJ. This is a great song to end on, playing off the opening line, "The revolution is about to be televised." This feels like Kendrick is telling us, the audience, to turn the TV off, get off the couch, and bring about real change in our communities. Perhaps it's time we listen. Again, there are probably many moments of symbolism that went over my head, but I tried to do the performance justice here. The main theme that Kendrick Lamar presented to us is that this country is a game, and it's a rigged game. This performer had a chance to use his art as political commentary, and I commend him for doing so. Some of the critiques I've seen about Kendrick Lamar's halftime show are as follows. 1, people point out that he's a multi-millionaire, so he doesn't understand what it's like for the rest of us to live in day-to-day struggles. To this, I say that's kind of bullshit because, again, he grew up in Compton, facing daily poverty and high crime areas. His art did bring him to the upper echelons of society, but the thing is, we should not be holding celebrities, no matter how rich they are, to the expectations that it's up to them to fix this country. The best they can do is use their platform to bring voice to the rest of us, and I think Kendrick Lamar did a damn good job at that. Also, again, he's lived in a lot of poverty, and he's lived in this ultra-rich society. If anything, he probably has more of an understanding about what it means to be poor and what it means to be rich better than anyone else. 2, I saw someone complain that there were only Black performers at the halftime show and that this was somehow unequal representation. Get the fuck over yourself. Overall, Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show was a powerful declaration of solidarity and a true example of how artists can use their work as resistance against the regimes in power that would otherwise keep them, and all of us, as suppressed as possible. You've been watching a clip from The Kayse Melone Show. For full episodes, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or Pocket Casts. And you can follow on TikTok, Instagram, or Blue Sky.